Hello, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. The Genesis narratives are some of the best known in the Torah, and this week's Parshat Toldot is no exception. We're all familiar with the tale of Yaakov's struggle with Esau, right, and the eventual so-called betrayal, although I would contest that. I don't really think there was any betrayal, but it's neither here nor there. There is, however, a verse at the beginning of the Parsha that has always sort of intrigued me. Right, the text says, "Vayitrotetzu habanim bekirba, vatomer im kain lama ze anochi, vatelech lidrosh et Hashem." Right, and so the children struggled in her womb, and she said, if it's going to be like this, if so, why do I sort of, that sort of trails off there, right? And then she went to inquire of the Lord. Right, so it's already interesting here how the text is showing a precursor, sort of what's to come. Right, animosity between these two brothers, each of whom is destined for a very different path. Right, and there's a wealth of commentary on this verse, and one in particular caught my eye. It happens to come from one of my favorite biblical commentators. His name is Rabbi Shlomo of Lunchitz. He's more commonly referred to as the Kli Yakar. And he says, this verse, the children, they struggled within her, right? Right, this agitation would happen whenever she would be walking by in town and she would pass by the entrance of the Beit Midrash of Shem and Ever. Yaakov would struggle to come out, and Esau would then grasp his hand and sort of pull him back in. And then whenever she would pass by a house of idolatry, Esau would struggle to come out, and Yaakov would grasp Esau's hand and pull him back in. And so, whenever Rivka was walking around town, passing by these, different places, each of them struggling to get out, it must have been very, hard for her, and she's sort of lamenting this, oh, why is this happening? I don't know what to do, which is why she went to go ask for, God's sort of intercession here. And I think it's interesting, Rivka, she had these two children in her womb that are, making these agitations. And it sort of reminds me of the struggles that we have inside each of us, every day. There's, struggles between righteousness and idolatry, between Yetzer HaTov and Yetzer Hara. We're constantly surrounded by temptation. Idolatry exists in many forms today. It's not just actual, idols, but things like money, fame, power, material possessions. And it's always easier to give in to these temptations, right? And it's harder to resist them. But I think that's what our tradition asks of us. God wants us to live holy lives. And he wants us to put ourselves on higher spiritual planes, right? How do I know this? The Midrash teaches us regarding this verse, another verse from Jeremiah, and it says, "B'terem atzorcha v'beten yedaticha u'b'terem teitzeh merachem hikdashticha." Right? Before I created you in the womb, I selected you. Before you were born, I made you holy. Right? God has destined for us to be a holy people, and God gave us the free will to make those good choices and to resist those temptations that lead us astray. I think one of the takeaways here is to always be on the lookout for opportunities to do mitzvot, whether that's reciting, brachot, blessings as part of your morning coffee routine, giving tzedakah to a person to whom you might normally walk past, or coming to services and praying together in our community. Life gives us all sorts of opportunities to be our best selves, and we should always strive to be like Jacob, who reached out for the Torah, and not like Esau, who gave in to his worst temptations. Shabbat Shalom.